I'm Grant Hagen. I'm a sophomore psychology major here and then founder of the Keep Going campaign. I spoke at a GSBA event about my story and all this, so Anna reached out and asked me to speak here. So here I am. A little bit of background. This is me, or at least this is what I was. This is who I was in high school, kind of before a lot of my experiences. As you can see, I had a lot of great friends, played sports, I participated in clubs, had a super supportive family. Overall, I was really just very happy, normal kid. And the reason I show you the old me, I'll say, is because from just looking at this, there was kind of no reason to think that someone like this or me would ever kind of deal with any kind of mental health issues or something like that. So when this all started, it came on pretty abruptly. It kind of caught me off guard just because I thought for the most part I would never struggle with that. I thought I had everything figured out. But then, like we just heard, going to college can be a big stressor. So when I first got here, got to Spokane and was moving in, I felt overwhelmingly anxious. Like super anxious, super nervous about this big transition. I was very nervous. And, I kind of talked to my parents, told them how I was feeling, and we agreed that, this is a big transition, this is a big part of my life, and it's totally normal to be nervous at first, but I totally thought that a couple days will go by, I'll meet some friends, I'll be good to go. Unfortunately, what I thought was going to last maybe a couple days or weeks ended up lasting quite a bit longer, and weeks go by and months and almost a whole semester has gone by, and I'm feeling maybe worse than I was even before. I was extremely anxious, nervous about basically every aspect of my life, full of self-doubt, basically questioned everything I was doing, never thought I was making the right decisions, all of that. Totally plagued by intrusive thoughts. Do you guys know what intrusive thoughts are? Yeah? Okay, they're basically just kind of like when you have a thought that's maybe negative in a sense, and it kind of freaks you out a little bit, like while you're thinking about it, and the more you try and stop thinking about it, it kind of sticks in your head. It's stuck there. So I'm gonna have that, just telling myself, just you suck, you're messing everything up, you're not doing this right, and just kind of all these this negative self-talk. I was saying all these bad things about myself. I was so anxious. I was not eating. I wasn't able to sleep, and my motivation was basically gone. I didn't want to do anything that I enjoyed. I didn't want to do schoolwork. I didn't want to hang out with my friends. All of this stuff. I was just so worried that I was going to mess it up, and then just so upset about how my life was going that I just kind of wanted to go in a hole and not interact or do anything. And the worst part of it is that I thought I was totally alone. To me, this is what my world looked like. I used to be one of these happy yellow dots, but then I became the kind of upset, depressed, anxious red dot. And I thought that all these other yellow dots, this would be you guys, everyone else around me, they were totally happy, they were totally fine, they didn't have anxiety, depression, they had none of this stuff. No one would understand, and if they found out how I was feeling, they would think I was weird, they wouldn't want to listen to me, they wouldn't care. So, I just kind of held it all in. I bottled it up, and it just built and built and built. And months went by, and I was calling my parents, crying, I can't do this, I need to come home, I don't know what's going on, all this stuff. And I was so overwhelmed, I was scared, anxious, sad, all these feelings. And I so badly just wanted to go home, cry forever. I didn't want to be at school, I didn't want to talk to people, like I said. I wanted to do nothing, I just wanted to leave. But I would kind of, my friend just walked by. I'd stop, and when I was upset and didn't want to kind of work on being better, do any positive, healthy stuff that could maybe help me or talk to people, I would look at myself in the mirror and literally say, Grant, I know this is hard, I know it kind of sucks right now, but I'm confident this is going to get better. Just keep going. Keep going. Keep going. Keep going. Keep going. Did I keep going? Yeah, keep going. And eventually, I got back to this point. There I am, happy yellow dot. And I really did say this. This is the bridge over by the law school. This was kind of like my happy place. I would walk out here, sit there for hours at a time, and just kind of like meditate, think through things, try and clear my head a bit. I carved the word to keep going into the side of it. Like this became like my motto. I lived by just keep going. You know, I knew it kind of sucked right now. Things weren't that great, but you know, I was hopeful they would get better, and you know, eventually they did. And I know I just clicked through like 6 slides, said keep going a couple times, and then poof, all of a sudden I was happy and better again. But that probably looked a lot more, there it is. Probably looked a lot more like this, my whole progress through this. You see, I kind of started up there. There's my upset, sad, anxious red dot. And I knew that wasn't healthy. I knew something had to change. And bottling all of that up and having it inside me was not working out. So I decided to start opening up to my friends and family. Went down that little dotted line, so that slightly brighter dot. And that helped a little. You know, it got some of that weight off of my shoulders. I felt a bit better, but you know, there's only so much that people can do for you if they don't have a background in helping with this. So my next step, if I continued down that dotted line, was meeting with a therapist. I was a bit apprehensive to do this at first. You know, I had convinced myself that, you know, only people with like issues or messed up go to therapy. It's like I didn't want to be that type of person in my head, but thankfully my parents talked to me and convinced me that therapy would be a good option. So I started working with a cognitive behavioral therapist, and he was amazing. His name's Philip. He helped a ton. Working with him changed so much. I started to understand what was happening with me. I learned positive ways to deal with it, and that was huge. So you can see it again, keep going. And I'm a bit brighter. I get to this next dot, reflection and acceptance. This again was really big for me. I was trying so hard to be perfect at everything. I wanted to do everything correctly all the time. I thought, like, even feeling this way, like, I was messing up. And I kept, like, telling myself that. I just had those intrusive thoughts, like, why do I feel this way? Something is wrong with me. So I kind of look back at everything going on, say, Grant, you've been having a hard time. You've been feeling this way for a while. Like, it's totally normal for you to be burnt out or tired. And I kind of had to, like, accept that. I accepted that I'm not a perfect human being. Like, sometimes things don't go how I want them to go. Sometimes I feel ways I don't want to feel. And I'm just human. Feeling sad or anxious is a human emotion, and there's nothing wrong with those feelings. They're uncomfortable, but they're just feelings. You're fine. It sucks, but you're fine. So I did that, and that helped. That was big for me. But there was still something wrong. I still was a little anxious, nervous, couldn't totally focus on my therapy and all of that. So my last step was starting on medication. Again, like with therapy, this was something I didn't really want to do at first. I told myself that taking medication to help with this was like cheating. I thought that if I wasn't able to get over everything going on my own without medication to help me, like it wouldn't really count or be gone. But again, I finally gave in, decided to talk to my doctor. I started taking antidepressants, and that was huge. I mean, obviously the medication alone didn't just make everything go away, but it got me to a state where I was able to focus on therapy. I was able to, you know, focus on working on myself and getting better. So that was huge. So I kept working on all this stuff. And eventually I get to the end. There I am, happy yellow dot. And that was great. And when I get to this point, I realized, after looking back at like everything that was going on, that when I thought the world looked like this, where I'm the one solo red dot and everyone else around me is perfect and happy, that definitely looked a lot more like that. I realized after talking to other people and kind of getting through my own stuff, and that I was not even close to alone. There are so many people that are also anxious, depressed. They're also these little red dots. There are plenty of people that are the happy yellow dots, and good for them. That's great. There's some people in between, but you know, you're really not alone. It definitely feels that way, but there are so many people. Like Anna was saying, anxiety disorders are super common. Mental health issues, I think it's like 1 in 5 people will experience it at some point in their life. It's huge. And when I got to this point, when I was realizing all of that, I decided that I wanted to like talk about this. I wanted people to know that they're not alone. So I decided the best way to do that is kind of share my experience doing stuff like this. And then if I was gonna have a message, I'll choose my motto, keep going. So I did. And that brings me to the Keep Going campaign. For this, I had 2 main goals. First, using social media to give anyone struggling the strength that they need to keep going. And then also just to raise awareness about mental health issues through clothing. By now, I hope you have noticed the super stylish and comfortable hoodie that I'm wearing with the really cool Keep Going logo. Started making those, and I made an Instagram account, just at the Keep Going campaign. On here, I post a bunch of little reminders or messages, stuff I say to myself, stuff people have said to me that I think are helpful. And you know, I get people texting me saying like, "Oh, great! This is such a great reminder today. Like, I needed this. Like, what a great way to start my morning." And like that means a lot to me. And if it can help anyone, like I think that's incredible. That was my goal, to raise awareness. And then also, if you did want to buy one of these super cool sweatshirts, www.thekeepgoingcampaign.com is the website for the company. On there, I have a sweatshirt like this one. It also comes in black. There's crew necks, t-shirts, and hats. In addition to that, 10% of any profits will be donated to larger mental health charities. The reason for that is my reach can only extend so far through people following the Instagram or buying the clothes, but now my reach extends even further because these larger organizations are also getting additional funding for their work, so people can continue to, you know, get these services that they need and raise awareness about mental health issues. And that's really like why I do these talks. You know, I want everyone to know that you're not alone. You know, everyone's gonna struggle like at some point. Maybe it's already happened. Maybe it's happening right now. Maybe it's not gonna happen for another 10 or 15 years. But you know, at some point, everyone has these hard times, and it can be really challenging. You can feel alone, isolated, depressed, anxious, all of these things. But like there are ways through it. It will not last forever. Just be patient with yourself and keep going. Thank you.